Well, after months and months of covering rumors and leaks about this thing, it's honestly a little surreal to actually be holding Google's new streaming device in my hand, but it's really real. This is the Chromecast with Google TV, Google's latest and greatest streaming dongle, this time packing a new user interface based on Android TV and a remote control. We've been putting this new streaming device through its paces over the past few days, including some performance tests to see how it compares to other streaming devices on the market. So if you've been looking for an affordable streaming device and you've been wondering if this $50 dongle has what it takes, stay tuned. This is a Cord Cutters News review of the Chromecast with Google TV. What's new with the Chromecast with Google TV? So if you're not familiar with Google's Chromecast series, here's a quick refresher. The line has been around since 2013, and while the exact design might differ from model to model, the basic idea here is that these devices offer streaming capabilities in a small HDMI dongle that hooks directly to the back of your TV, out of sight and out of mind. What's new this time is that instead of relying on your phone or other device to cast media to your Chromecast to play on your big screen TV, this latest model comes packing an enhanced version of Android TV that goes by the name of Google TV. And along with the included remote control, this shifts focus considerably. Instead of curating and selecting media to watch on your phone first, you can use this new Chromecast as a dedicated streaming device, much like you would a Roku, Fire TV, or Apple TV. So yes, new hardware, new features, new software, and new included accessories. We've got some ground to cover, so let's get started. Hardware and features. From a hardware standpoint, we're still dealing with a small, discrete device with an HDMI tail, so to speak. Unlike streaming boxes that sit on your entertainment center alongside your TV, these dongle-style devices are meant to plug straight into your HDMI port and just sort of hang off that connection on the back of your TV. Size-wise, however, this new Chromecast is a fair bit larger than previous models, which could be an issue on smaller TVs, but the attached HDMI cable is flexible enough that you should be able to tuck the Chromecast away well enough. In the box, you'll get the Chromecast device itself, a remote control, AAA batteries, adapter, and a power cord that uses the USB Type-C standard. As far as what this new Chromecast can do, here's a quick look at its specs and features. Some of the highlights include 4K HDR support, including Dolby Vision and HDR10+. And of course, if you're looking for a quick explainer on HDR or high dynamic range video, feel free to check out our recent deep dive into the topic, linked down below in the video description, and hopefully in this top corner here as well. Earlier Chromecast models have also supported 4K and HDR, but we'll dive into what sets this new one apart in a second. Oh, and you'll also get a choice of 3 color options here: sky, sunrise, and snow. And if you're wondering why color choice would matter for a device that's meant to be hidden behind your TV, well, that color choice also applies to the included remote, so make your decisions accordingly. Of course, one of the biggest features here is the addition of Google TV, which acts sort of like a new menu layer on top of the existing Android TV. We'll get into actually using the software in the next section, but just to sum up, instead of presenting a grid of available streaming apps, Google TV aims to offer suggestions tailored to your viewing habits and preferences. So, when you fire up your Chromecast, you'll see options like Top Picks for You, categories like Action or Comedy, or suggestions based on movies you've watched before. Those recommendations pull from a variety of streaming services, including ones you may or may not already subscribe to, but the goal here is, ideally, more relevant viewing options for you. That's the goal anyway, but what's it like to actually use? Well, let's discuss that next, shall we? Setup and performance. Okay, so one of the hallmarks of the Chromecast line, and really HDMI dongles in general, is the ease in setup, and that continues here as well. You just plug the Chromecast into your TV's HDMI port and then plug in the power cord. And since it's a USB Type-C port, you don't have to worry about which way you're holding that port when you connect it. Once it's connected and powered up, it's time to set up your new Chromecast. Now you're given a couple of options here. For one, you can set up the device directly on your TV, which means inputting some details via the included remote control. It's certainly doable, but if you want to save yourself some time, you can download the Google Home app and set up your Chromecast via a phone or tablet. You'll enter details like your email address and Wi-Fi login credentials, and then you can customize things a bit by designating a location for your Chromecast. This can come in handy if you're managing several devices around your home, and it's something we've seen on other platforms, including Roku's line of dedicated streaming devices. Our setup process included an initial software update, but once that was out of the way, you'll be greeted by the Google TV home screen. And if you're used to the standard Android TV experience on, say, an NVIDIA Shield TV Pro or TiVo Stream 4K, you might pick up on a few similarities here, but it's clear Google's trying to shake things up a bit. For one, instead of a focus on individual apps, you're first presented with a list of content choices pulled from a number of services. You can customize that experience by telling Google which services you're subscribed to, but at the moment, not all services support that level of customization. In fact, here's a list of services you can tell Google you're subscribed to, and they include some big names like Netflix, Prime Video, and Hulu. If you choose to tell Google which services you're subscribed to, those will get higher priority among the recommendations set your way, but you'll still likely see options from other services, including rentals and digital purchases. As you browse the choices on offer, you should see fairly clear messaging about which service or services offer the movie or show in question and whether or not a rental or other transaction is required. Oh, and if Google knows you're signed up for a service like Netflix, the messaging changes from subscribe to watch now, so nice little touch there. At the top of the screen, you'll see a menu bar for categories like search, movies, shows, apps, and library. You'll also see a section called For You, which acts as an initial home screen of sorts. It's where Chromecast will first present viewing options tailored, wait for it, for you. And if this service-agnostic approach isn't to your liking and you want to head straight to a specific service, you can customize which of your favorite apps show up on the For You section. Beyond that, there's the more drastic apps-only mode available within the settings that strips away all the recommendations from the home screen, leaving you with just, yep, your apps only. And on the included remote, you'll also get dedicated buttons for YouTube and Netflix. As far as general use goes, we tested the Chromecast on 1080p, 4K, and 4K HDR content, and it handled it all well. We did run into occasional sluggishness when using the Chromecast. This behavior was hard to pin down, but occasionally we'd have to wait a bit longer for an input to register or for a screen to fully populate with titles. It's not necessarily a deal breaker, especially at $50, but it is something you might notice if you're coming from a higher-end device. And one of the other concerns right now is the inconsistent HDR support in several apps. For instance, as of our testing here in October of 2020, the Disney Plus app on the Chromecast supports HDR10 but not Dolby Vision. A quick flip to the Disney Plus app on our LG's built-in WebOS platform shows the exact same movie but with Dolby Vision available. We saw something similar with Vudu, where digging through the available options showed Dolby Vision support on our LG TV's app, but no such support listed with Chromecast version of the Vudu app. And it's also worth noting that the Chromecast defaults to Dolby Vision for menus and browsing content, which may or may not be to your liking. We've seen similar behavior on the recent 2020 Roku Ultra and the TiVo Stream 4K. Thankfully, just like those options, there is a way to adjust the feature. Just head to the display settings and select Match Content to Dynamic Range, and your TV should switch to HDR only when HDR content is actually being shown. Overall, however, HDR performance itself seemed just fine, but be aware that there are some app inconsistencies lingering in the Chromecast version of certain services. Hopefully it's just a matter of updating those apps, but for now, heads up if you're looking for widespread Dolby Vision support. The included remote is comfortable and easy to use. It doesn't take terribly long to get used to using it without looking at which button you're pressing, which is a good sign for a remote control. The smooth, rounded shape might be a bit slippery at times, but the overall functionality and design score more good points than bad. And the voice search feature works more or less as expected. You can hold down the Google Assistant button and speak your search. Options like play Captain America Winter Soldier or find super simple songs on YouTube work just fine. But if it mishears you, the Chromecast might steer you far off course. For example, I asked how to rent Mulan and got back search results for how to move a log. Speaking slower and more clearly helped the second time, but be prepared for the usual voice assistant quirks. As for overall performance, we tested the Chromecast by running it through a series of apps to gauge how quickly you could load each one. We did a similar test with recent Roku devices, and it uncovered some interesting performance numbers. For this test, we swapped out a couple Roku-specific apps, and so our test suite this time includes Netflix, YouTube, Amazon Prime Video, Disney+, Hulu, ESPN, Pluto TV, Sling TV, and Crunchyroll. And then we fired up Netflix one more time to see if the Chromecast could load the app any faster the second time around. And here's how the Chromecast did. For comparison's sake, we ran the similarly priced Roku Streaming Stick Plus, TiVo Stream 4K, and Fire TV Stick 4K through the same gauntlet, and here's how they compared to one another. And as you can see, the Chromecast with Google TV more than holds its own against its rivals in this price class, all while offering up Google-backed content suggestions that should evolve as it gets to know you better. Wrapping it all up. Overall, you do indeed get a lot of streaming bang for your $50. The Chromecast with Google TV adds a lot of welcome functionality to the Chromecast line, not just by allowing you to control your content through your TV, but also by including a remote control. For those who like the simplicity of the Chromecast design but wished it behaved and performed more like a Roku or Fire TV device, well, this latest model is a winner. It's not all perfect, however. There are still some app inconsistencies we'd like to see cleared up soon, especially when things like Dolby Vision are available on the exact same service on other platforms. And yes, there are also the occasional hitches or hiccups when exploring the menus. But at $49.99 with a comfortable remote, the Chromecast with Google TV is definitely worth considering if you want a capable, portable, and affordable media streamer. And thanks, as always, for checking out our review. Of course, if you're new here, feel free to click those all-important like and subscribe buttons down below. On Wednesdays, Jess hosts a live Q&A session with our readers and subscribers. And on Fridays, we wrap up the week in cord-cutting and streaming news. And in between on Thursdays, we dive deep into specific topics, like, say, reviewing new hardware. And stay tuned for even more streaming device reviews in the near future. For now, though, my name's Philip Palermo. Thanks again for watching. Take care.